Hello, Anne. Before I forget, happy birthday. Now, there's something I just want to ask you before I start. Why did you always introduce me as your oldest friend? It did make me seem rather old. But we do go back a long way. A balmy evening in February 1956, I was at the Freshers' Ball, a third year student I was, sussing out the arriving freshet talent. And I was confronted by this blonde, tall, lissom uh, young lady who spoke in a very posh English accent that I had great difficulty in understanding at first. And, um, and it turned out you were 15 years old. Uh, we spent a very pleasant platonic evening, no funny business, and of course, no one night stand. But that's probably the reason why we've remained friends for such a long time. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you sent me a photo of the Day Student Council, one of the most useless of the many councils on the campus. But there am I have to say, as chairman, and you right behind me, presumably as my voting fodder. One last thing about Cape Town and the university was my mother allegedly taking you aside and saying, "You're the one for my son." Well, apparently there was no church or synagogue willing to do the job, so we left it at that. The next time I bumped into you was in Paris in 1961 at the end of the bloody Algerian civil war, a bit when Paris was still an artistic destination. There were a group of South Africans, which included you and me, and the ballet dancer Selina Maltino, Alan Rosinus, who was a total oil bursar, who used to parade through Montparnasse on Thursday nights looking for a decent but cheap restaurant. And sometimes, in the typical Parisian way, we'd go in, look at the menu, march out. And after we'd done this 5 or 6 times, I can recall Anne saying, "No, I'm staying. I'm absolutely famished." We did, of course, have a farewell dinner there before I flew off to the Gabon. But I just want to say, Anne, I think, was living in much more pleasant circumstances than me. Some years ago, she said to me, "Dennis, when we lived in Paris, you did rather smell a bit." Well, that was because I lived in a rather nasty bedsit right opposite the Gare Montparnasse. And I would have to take my clothes into the public shower where I washed myself and my clothes at the same time. That's just a reminder of how hard things were. Just one other thing. Did you work at the South African embassy? I seem to remember something to do with the information attaché, Roy McNabb. It sounds incredible now, but I know what you were doing. You were preparing the way for your life in London. And when I got to London in '68, I found you heavily involved in the struggle. You had founded the Anti-Apartheid News, a very august and very useful newspaper, and you were information secretary at the anti-apartheid movement to the wonderful, unbelievable Ethel de Keyser. I used to see you and your husband Bruce at Duncan Terrace for occasional dinners, and I have an idea, or I won't say I have an idea, I once asked Bruce if he'd put in a good word for me when I applied to the Sunday Times for a job. He looked up in the air, and after 10 or 15 seconds, I gave up, no reply. But for the rest of the time, over the many years since, I've knocked into and all over the place, seen at anti-apartheid functions, ANC functions, and then other sorts of things at South Africa House since we took over in 1990 or 1994. There's one thing that I really find um, that I like about Anne is her can-do attitude to the world and to whatever problems face her. You know, you and Bruce are a formidable combination. And I must say, having seen you a few times at, well, on the Suffolk shingle, and also here at our house, I am really very much impressed with the love and dedication that you've looked after Bruce. Long may it happen for two reasons, you and Bruce. I think I've said enough. Stay well, and we love you. A PS, you're still blonde, you're still tall, and you still listen. Yes, listen.